Hello, everybody. Greetings. How are you? It's Earth Hour tonight. So, we are going to have a show that is slightly shorter than normally. We used to do 40 minutes, but tonight we will do only 30 minutes because after that we will switch our electricity on. But don't forget, guys, Earth Hour is just symbolic. Make Earth Hour every day. Make Earth Day Make Earth Hour every hour, make Earth Day every day. That should really be our philosophy. We have an exciting topic tonight. Is wood as a building material really good for the planet? Yes or no? What do you guys think? Let us know in the chat. But first of all, let me bring on my guest, Frank, all the way from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He runs a company called Properly. Hi, good evening, Frank. How are you?
Good
Great
evening,
to meet
everybody.
you. Yes.
Thank you very much for
he
inviting
is
me.
the Properly CEO and founder. We had as well planned to bring all the way from Finland our good friend Pekka, but I think he is having technical challenges. So, but if Pekka comes online for our backstage guys, bring him in anytime if he still joins us. Frank, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Great.
inviting me. I'm very excited to be on your show.
Great to see you, but how come your wooden shelf behind you is empty tonight? I know it normally it's like packed full of smart
I,
books that you have read.
I just wanted to show you the cabinet and all the carbon that it hosts.
Hopefully, it has absorbed a lot of carbon, right? Yeah, it
I
has
hope it did, yes.
sequestered carbon. All right, I hear Pekka is backstage. Let's bring him on. Hi,
Okay.
Pekka. Are you there? Please join us all the way from Finland. Bring it on. The Finnish. Oh yeah, there we go. Hi, Pekka. Good
Okay,
evening,
hi.
or
Hi,
good
Pekka.
afternoon, all the way from Finland.
Yeah, it's echoing a bit, but let me put my loudspeaker a bit.
Sounds very funky over there, all the way from funky Finland. Yeah, good. So we have the team complete here. Frank is a property guy, and he has been looking into the subject recently. And the real forest and wood expert is Pekka, all the way from Finland. And myself, as the Green Man, I looked into this subject as well. Let me share with you what I think about it, and then I'd like to hand over to Pekka and Frank for their comments. But, you know, I, as an environmentalist, when my late father asked me, hey, son, what do you want to do as a job? I told him, Dad, my job will be to save the planet. And then my late father basically commented, hey, son, you can't make a living from hugging trees. So I was known as a tree hugger. I still am a tree hugger. And if the wood was taken out of the virgin rainforest and virgin rainforest would be chopped down, then it's a problem. Then it wouldn't be good for the planet. But we have now sustainable forest plantations and sustainably managed forests. And you know, the amazing thing about wood is it sequesters carbon. I even have 4 hectares of sustainably managed forest in Panama, and that wood will be later on used as furniture or as building materials. As long as we can lock in the carbon long term and give the wood additional extra lives and life cycles, then it's very much in line with the Paris Agreement and it's great for the planet. What do you think, Pekka, as a wood and forestry expert?
Yeah, Matthias, you are fully right. Sorry if my voice is echoing, for at least for me, but don't let it disturb. You are talking about sustainability in the forestry, which is a key word here as well. But when we think of the global utilization of timber, for example, for construction, the codes, building codes and regulations are based on the use of the coniferous timber species, which we have in Northern Hemisphere. But when we come to regions like Southeast Asia or Vietnam and those areas. That's another thing. Then we can talk about the sustainability, but I would like to talk about the smart way of using timber as a building material or as a material generally.
Yeah, I mean, one of the ways that a lot of people are using it at the moment, like if we look at Vietnam, they are selling a lot of their timber cheaply as wood chips for the power plants in Japan, in Korea, in China. It's considered like a green power, but actually, I wouldn't agree that this is a smart way of using it, right? Because you're burning it off again, you're releasing again the carbon dioxide that was sequestered in the wood. What is your opinion on that, Frank?
In principle, I think if we look back when we were hiking in the forest, we always found these old little wooden buildings, and somehow now, if we look at our cities, it's only concrete. And the devastation that it does to our environment is just humongous. I mean, I live in Kuala Lumpur. When I go north or when I go south or when I go to the east and I go on the highways, I see massive areas of destruction where cement is mined from the land. Of course, first the forest has to go, then the land is mined and the mountains disappear. So the destruction is massive, and to go back to wood as a building material is, I think, it's the brightest idea ever. Plus, it stores our carbon, the bigger problem in the world at this moment.
Yeah, I think for those...
Yes, Matthias, we can hear you.
We can hear you, Matthias.
Yeah, for those that don't know about it, actually cement has a gigantic carbon footprint. It's about 7% of the world's CO2 emissions altogether. It is essentially burning a carbon sink, which is limestone, and then actually releasing all the CO2 that was captured by the limestone, which is calcium carbonate. Steel as well. You need huge amounts of energy to manufacture steel. So right. Both cement and steel together are more than 10% of the world's CO2 emissions. The more we could replace that with sustainably managed wood from sustainable plantations, which actually represent a carbon sink, we would have a double whammy. We avoid the emissions from the steel and the cement, and we are actually locking in the carbon that comes from the sustainable wood. So that bottom line is a huge opportunity for us to contribute to the Paris Agreement, I think. Now, Pekka, you have some examples of actually the low value wood materials that usually in Vietnam get used for wood chips, and then the CO2 gets released again. You have turned it into some samples. Can you show us some?
Yeah, I will show them to you. Here is a simple piece of wood. This is Eucalyptus, and it's a residue from plywood factory. And usually you just chip it and forget about it. What we do is that we take that core, and we saw it in two identical wood, and then we modify it with our thermomechanical modification process, and then we profile this material to look like this, as you can see, and then the wonder happens when you just take these pieces, and you can make a very, very strong wood, glulam wood, out of truss timber. And then you can make, out of that, you can make flooring, you can make different shapes of, for example, tabletops or walls, whatever. So practically, timber, which has already been paid, and it's a residue, it's a waste. You can turn it into high value added product in a matter of hours, actually, because we can also cut the modification time compared to conventional drying time about 80 to 90% down, which will then allow you and the customers to make customer specific product instead of making mass produced commodities where the price is the issue. But now you can make designer products with high margin.
Great. Excellent. Those are good examples. Just for information, I think Pekka is wearing his gloves because the eucalyptus that he showed, the eucalyptus that he showed can actually cause allergic reactions. Maybe, Pekka, if you have a headset and you put it on, that will avoid the echo. But if you don't have one, is as we say in the Philippines, walang problema, we can manage, we can survive. So, okay. I mean, Frank, what do you think about those examples that Pekka just showed from small diameter wood that is usually, discarded as not suitable for building materials and just turned into wood chips that get burned somewhere?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's too crazy that the biomass industry has grown so much, and the devastation around the world, where forests are cut actually to travel halfway around the world to then be burnt in a furnace somewhere. But that Pekka has developed this technology into a technology where you take low-grade wood and turn it into a high-grade, high-value building material is fantastic. And I think it's definitely something that the building industry is waiting for. It's looking towards. So now it's good that this technology is here, and it should be here to stay.
But I mean, the question is always what cost? How much is it going to cost, right? I mean, if we look at commercial usage of such innovation, or new innovations like this technology, I think we came to the conclusion it's good for the planet. But is it commercially viable to scale it up at a level where it can be cost competitive and where its properties are such that building, construction, furniture, or flooring guys will say, I want this because it's eco-friendly, it helps me with net zero carbon, and the price is good, so that it can be scaled up to a level where it becomes mainstream. I mean, Pekka, what's your view on that?
Matthias, as we say, we provide a global scalable solution for local challenges in timber industry. So our role in the first place with our customers is very consultative. We make testing, we make a proof of concept of the end products that they plan to manufacture. And then we talk about the annual volume that they are going to produce. So we end up the investment figure, which is different to all of our customers. But what I can say, the return of invest is practically between 3 and 5 years, so it's commercially very viable. And when you take all the side costs into account, like the transportation cost of timber and the energy cost, which is less than in conventional way, so you have a lot of different sources where you can save money and also save the planet.
But Matthias,
so we have
work smarter way.
All right, Frank. Yeah, you have a comment?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's of course it's too crazy for words that we are transporting woods all the way from South America, halfway around the world, to be used. The cost of that is also tremendous, and the cost of the pollution. Because I mean, cost to me is not only the financial cost, but it's also the cost of the pollution and the damage we do to this planet. And I understand from Pekka's technology that it can be. The production can be done locally of his technology. The woods can be sourced locally, and then the building material becomes a local building material. And that to me is totally unique to this concept.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we have a question there from one of our audience members here. We currently need more trees. Can the use of wood in construction result in more trees being cut down for construction? So, who wants to answer that one?
Actually, I would like to answer that
Yeah,
one.
Frank, go,
Yes.
go for it.
Actually, we constantly, I think since I've been schooling, and that is quite a while ago, probably about 40 or 50 years back, we hear about deforestation of the world, but we don't hear so much about replanting. And I think that is part of what we should be doing. If we cut a tree, we should plant 2 new trees. And that's the way I think it should be. Matthias, maybe you have a bit more information on that, on the technical side, on how that works in different parts of the world.
Yeah, actually, the forest investment that I have in Panama is done by a very famous German company that is eco-finance. It's an eco-finance company, green finance company. Right. I invested in that 15 years ago. The whole concept is reforestation. And you get a return at the end from that reforestation. Your return is based on trees getting selectively harvested and used for furniture or building material. But then they get replanted. So there's always a living forest with animals, with biodiversity. It's a continuous process. It's a long-term active forest that has 8 different species altogether. Those 8 different species are actually making sure that there is biodiversity, that you don't just have a monoculture. Monoculture would just be one tree alone, which is never too good. You want to have more diversity there. And then based on that, you can have a sustainable concept. And actually, to answer that question that was just asked, the only reason why this scheme has been super successful in Panama is because people can make money from it.
Yep.
And the government gave a tax exemption for reforestation. So it was an additional incentive. So actually the fact that there's an end use as furniture or building material leads to more trees being planted. So maybe the question here that McVie has asked, short term, yes, additional trees will be used, but long term, we are going to have a lot more reforestation and sustainable reforestation because there is a commercial use there. Rather than land being totally unutilized or in some places even turning into deserts, we can reforest and we can actually have this as a continuous process. And we can as well divert forest stock away from being burnt in power plants into building materials, which is actually locking up the carbon in the long term. Yep. We have another question here from Colleen. With rising urbanization, very good question. The demand for high-rise is growing. How can design be adjusted to bring in more wood than concrete? And how would it be load-bearing? Very interesting question. Mm-hmm. I have already an answer in my mind, but I'll let you guys go first.
Yeah, I come back to the first question and tell a story from Finland, where we have a forestry a lot and forest industry. We have to follow the forestry code so that we keep the balance. When we cut the tree, we always plant 5 new timber at the same time, and we keep the annual volume of the growing and the annual volume of consumption of tree in balance, so that the forest and timber balance is always there. And that is always a question of country by country, how they follow their legal commitments concerning the timber. And I have to say that we come there as a doctor, not a judge in the place. So we try to improve the conditions in forestry also, rather than allow the final cutting of every timber and every forest in the country.
Great, that's the good practice in Finland. My daughter joined me It's Earth Hour today. I will get her involved later, guys, when we switch off the lights here. And this is one of the reasons why we are doing all of this, because we want to make sure we have a good future for our children. And I think, Frank, you might have a comment on either of the two questions. And then later on, I will come back to Colin's question about the, design of the buildings so that we can use it as load bearing as well.
Well, yes, I actually wanted to answer that part of the question. As for load bearing, it's quite interesting. Do a little bit of research, go online and look for wooden building Rotterdam. The building, there's quite a few. Rotterdam is a city in the Netherlands, one of the largest harbors in the world. I follow the news in the Netherlands because I'm Dutch. And there's quite a lot of wooden structures. There's even residential areas that are now completely built in wood, or mainly built in wood, I would say. And there's a building in Rotterdam called Sawa, 140 meters high. So if they can build a 140 meters high building just from wood alone, then I think we don't have to worry too much about the load bearing. Let the architects do their work.
Yeah, and actually there is a factory in Mindanao that uses bamboo, and they claim that their bamboo as a building material is suitable to replace steel in high-rise buildings in terms of the strength as well that it has. So this is one of the developments, and I think some of the samples that Pekka showed earlier as well, they have the lightness, but at the same time the strength due to the glulam, or as Pekka uses it, the lockwood concept. The lockwood concept is even stronger, where due to the way how you structure them, you get an incredible strength, and then you can use it as load-bearing material. And the wood itself is actually lower weight than the concrete. Okay, darling, maybe later you join me when we switch off the light. Okay, say bye-bye to our friends here. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
So,
Bye-bye.
So this is a very important development, Colleen, that is already happening. There are high-rises in Norway, in Sweden, in North America, made purely from wood, where as well the structural parts are partially containing wood-based material, and the weight of the building has been massively reduced due to the use of the wood-based materials, and that helps because you need less structural strength, you need less piling, you can save money at the same time. The next question is from McVie again about the insects. We have the termite problem. This, I think, is as well still a challenge with the bamboo, but I think, Pekka, you have an answer for that, right?
Yes, conventionally, the timber is treated, for example, with boron acid, which is quite a toxic material, in order to avoid the termites in tropics. And we have improved our process and the patented system so that we can eliminate the use of acid, or at least radically decrease the use of it. And I can show you, for example, this piece is acacia and rubber wood. And maybe you see also the pattern of the lockwood system. There is an increased resistance against fungi and decay in that specific timber when it's modified with our technology. But it's always a case-by-case question.
Yeah, you make it more dense, and that way you actually give the insects and bacteria little chance to actually go in there. Whereas with the original wood, untreated, it's easy for them to find their way in there. We had another question from Colleen about the banks. How can we get the banks to help create products like here in the Philippines, both in terms of the green investment, like reforestation, and then the end products? I mean, I think the woods that we have here in the Philippines is mainly the cocoa lumber, and that already could I think, with such a technology, be strengthened and be much more useful as a structural material like the bamboo that is currently being harvested in Mindanao. Apparently, Mindanao has one of the best and biggest bamboo in the world, and these guys are from the US that are doing the project there, and they're selling most of it for building projects in North America. I think we could create a lot of livelihood projects here in the Philippines with these kind of technologies. So maybe we need to put some plans together to then make it investable so banks can actually support this as green finance projects, both the plantation side as well as the treatment of the material with these kind of technologies like what Pekka is talking about or what the American guys are doing. I think the future is bright. We need to help a lot of the rural people in the Philippines that are actually in need of additional livelihood, particularly as well the pandemic has made a lot of people suffer more. We need the unproductive land that might still be available. We don't want to take land away from agriculture, but land that is unutilized. And the more we have forests as well, I had a meeting yesterday with the Philippine Eagle Foundation, the original forests that are still there. And reforestation is critical for the Philippine eagles. That is very, very important. We need to protect the original forests and support the people, the original tribes and groups that are in there, support them with the forest protection measures, and then reforest other areas to open up new opportunities. I think we have to wrap up. 1:30, Earth Hour starts. Please switch off your electricity. Maybe Frank, 30 seconds, and Pekka, 30 seconds. What is your recommendation to our audience, how we can turn that into a sustainable opportunity in the Philippines and all over the world?
Pekka first or Frank first? Okay, I will go first then.
Yeah, Frank, please.
Yeah, I have to admit, I mean, the property, we are in the residential property development market, and I can see that the opportunities of wood as a building material are humongous. And it takes time for an industry to adapt to some of their old standards. And building code, for instance, is one of them. So if you are, what I think is work globally, but think locally. Make it locally happen. Go and talk to your local suppliers and the government, your local government, and let them help you. And I think the remark just given, because somehow all of this needs to be financed. So I think it's very important that banks, for instance, would come on board with green plans, green investment plans. That would be excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that there is no magic stick to make a total change at once.
Correct.
And the Earth Hour is a good step forward, but we have to apply the practices that will improve the whole globe to be more sustainable, and we have to use the smart solution for that, and step by step going ahead. That is my comment. I'm a boring engineer, and we always make continuous improvement steps rather than very big steps. We are rational.
All right, great. Happy Earth Hour, all of you guys.
Happy Earth
Sure
Hour.
Consultancy just asked the question. I think logging ban should be for the original rainforests, the old forests, the forests that have the local communities, ancestral lands. But we need to make reforestation possible and commercial plantations that are sustainably certified. This must be a good business opportunity. Then we are scaling up the carbon sequestration. Thanks, everyone. Happy Earth Hour. See you again in 2 weeks' time. Thanks so much, Pekka and Frank. Have a great evening. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Hey guys, my name is Green Man. I'm originally from a small village in Germany. I was voted greenest person on the planet in 2008, and my passion is to inspire people to live a green lifestyle. I myself try to live as green as possible. Electricity bill less than $10. I just created my carbon footprint, zero carbon footprint off-grid home. Green living, that's my business. In the morning, we look at our personal lives. In the afternoon, we look at what can we do in the office. What can we do as a member of an organization or as a manager or owner to take our organization, our business to the next level? Again, to shift from burden to planet to healing the planet through product innovation, energy efficiency, reduction of consumption, adding more to the bottom line and coming up with innovations that help the planet. That's what green living and working is all about. To look at where can I be the change and be the difference.